Okay, in algebra, you need to know these things called the power rules, which I've written out there. And they deal with how variables multiply and divide together. Okay, so commit them to memory, and I'll explain how they work now. Now, you know how to do, for example, 2 squared times 2 cubed, okay? 2 squared times 2 cubed is, well, 2 squared is 2 times 2, okay? Times 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, right? So 2 squared times 2 cubed is that, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is 2 to the power of 5. Which you notice is that plus that. 2 to the power of 5 is 2 to the power of 2 plus 3. Okay? And that's this first power rule. When you multiply two things together, you just add the powers. Okay? And these numbers can be anything. 2 and 3, it could be 2 to the power of 6 times 2 to the power of 9. You just do 2 to the power of 6 plus 9, so that would be 2 to the power of 15. These numbers can be anything, and that's represented by A and B. A and B are just numbers, they can be anything. So when you have x to the power of some number times x to the power of some other number, that's the same as x to the power of those two numbers added together. Let's do another example, only with variables this time. Let's have x to the power of 3 times x to the power of 4. Okay? X to the power of 3 is x times x times x, okay, times x to the power of 4 is x times x times x times x, and that whole thing is x times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it works. X to the power of 7, which is 3 plus 4. X to the power of 3 plus 4. So it works, the rule works. In this case, A was 3 and B was 4. So we've got x to the A times x to the B is x to the power of A plus B, which is x to the 7. Okay? So that's the multiplication rule. You add the powers when multiplying. Let's look at the division rule now. X to the A divided by x to the b. So let's do, for example, 2 cubed divided by 2 squared, right? That's 2 times 2 times 2 divided by 2 squared is 2 times 2. Okay? Now, that's equal to, when you have a number on the top and the same one on the bottom, you can cancel them. So that 2 cancels with that one, and that 2 cancels with that one. So we're just left with 2, which is actually 2 to the power of 1. Any number, such as x, is the same as that thing to the power of 1. 5, for example, is the same as 5 to the power of 1. Anything, y, is the same as y to the power of 1. Okay? So 2 to the power of 1 is just 2. See, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. We're just left with 2. And that 2 to the power of 1, if you notice, it's actually 3 minus 2. And that's where the 1 comes from. When you're dividing, you subtract. Let's do an example with x's. No, let's do a different variable, a. Why not a? Let's have a to the 4 over a squared. Okay? That's a to the 4 is a times a times a times a divided by a squared is a times a. Okay, a on the top, a on the bottom, they cancel. A on the top, a on the bottom, they cancel. So we're just left with a times a, which is a squared, which is the same as a to that minus that, 4 minus 2. So it works. X to the a divided by x to the b is x to the a minus b. When dividing, you subtract the powers. When multiplying, you add. When dividing, you subtract. Okay, now the third one is, I call it the bracket rule. Let's do 3, for example, to the power of 3. And that whole thing, we're going to square it. Now, that's equal to 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? And that's squared, so it's that times itself, times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, that's that written out in full. That's equal to, well, we can get rid of the brackets. So that's the same as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 3 to the power of 6. Which is, if you notice, it's that times that. So it's the same as 3 to the power of 3 times 2. And that's shown here in the power rule. X to the power of a, all to the power of b, is x to the power of a times b. So let's do it with a variable. Let's do it with y. Let's have y squared all to the power of 4. Okay, that is y squared is y times y, and that multiplied by itself 4 times y times y times y times y times y times y. Okay, that's equal to, you can get rid of the brackets, y times 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 y. I know this is long, but I want you to see that it works when I write it out fully. This is proof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's y to the power of 8. Which is, yes, it's worked. It's the same as 2 times 4, because 8 is 2 times 4. So, to summarise, when you multiply, you add the powers. When you divide, you subtract the powers. And when you're bracketing, you multiply the powers. Commit the power rules to memory. They're very important. And that's how they work.